All right. All right. Giving everybody just a few minutes to go ahead and get logged in. Just a few. Actually, I'm sorry, just a few seconds to get logged in. We're going to try to move this pretty quickly so we can get started. Don't want to, waste anybody's time this evening. Again, my name is David Jackson. I am the lead government contracting liaison with Allied-SCSS. We are a business development consulting firm specializing in helping small, minority, woman-owned, service-disabled, veteran-owned businesses successfully navigate government contracting, just keeping it real simple. We help companies identify, secure, and maintain local, state, and federal government contracts. And we actually also participate in the space as a government contractor as well, have held contracts from things as, I won't say simple, but things from, lawn service, tree trimming, roofing, IT, small business development consulting, feasibility, economic impact studies, you name it, we probably dabbled in it at some point or another, which is why we feel it is invaluable that we share some insight and knowledge with other business owners. There's tons of spending that goes on. I'm sure that's why a lot of you are possibly interested in participating and taking advantage of government contracting opportunities. Just tons of opportunities, tons of spending, and it's across nearly every industry that you could think of. And we just want to make sure that businesses are aware of these opportunities. We believe in these three things, educate, empower, and execute. So we want to educate other small businesses about these various opportunities. We want to empower them where, okay, yeah, I'm educated, but I want to be empowered to where I know enough and I'm confident enough in what I know and what tools and resources I have to move forward and now execute, right? So that's what we really want to kind of, dive into tonight. I'm actually going to do this evening's presentation a little bit different from what I have done. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit different from what I've done in the past. And it's because I want to really make sure a lot of the information is hitting home and I'm actually giving you guys exactly what it is that you're looking for. So what I'm going to do is going to be a little different this evening is I'm going to basically allow for a longer Q&A session than what I typically do when I have this hour. But I'll try to do that. And again, trying to be respectful of everybody's time. So what we want to do, if you're on the Zoom, you're actually going to have the ability to go ahead and jump into that chat. And in that chat, I want you to provide what questions that you may have. And the reason I want to do it in the chat is it's easier for me to manage and look at. And also I want everyone to be able to see, what you're actually, posting there. Give me 1 second. All right. So if you're in the chat, I want you to go and make sure that the 2 is set to everyone. So everyone can see what questions you pose. Make sure the 2 is set to everyone. And that way everybody can see, what questions and stuff we're posing this evening. So kind of to kick things off, I'd like to, kind of ask a few questions about people's mindset. Let me see. And I'll fix that for you guys. Let's see. There we go. Sorry about that. So again, to kick things off, I'm going to ask a few questions about mindset. So everybody would like to agree, that they're a hard worker, right? But who in here, really believes, that they're a hard worker? If you really believe that you are truly a hard worker, drop a 10 in the chat. And then we're going to, like I said, we're just checking everybody's mindset. If you really believe you're a hard worker, drop a 10 in the chat. Now, out of all these 10s, are you dropping those 10s in the chat? How many of you would prefer to work smarter rather than harder? If you would prefer to work smarter rather than harder, drop a 1 in the chat, because you want to work smarter, right? So it's one of those things, everybody, well, a lot of people will say, hey, yeah, I'm definitely a hard worker. I bust my butt, but also, I would like, if the opportunity presents, if I, work smarter rather than harder, I want to use more of my mind. I'm really, burning. I feel like I'm possibly burning myself out. So what does that actually look like, though? What does it really look like to work smarter rather than harder? And this is how we're going to find out, where that mindset really is. A lot of people will say, hey, I want to have $1 million a year company, a $10 million a year company. And then when you get that list of what you need to do to set that up, you get that task list because you got the goal, but then, it's followed up with a task list to make that happen. That ambition, that drive to put in all that hard work still has to be there. And the first step is building that foundation. So if you're saying you're a hard worker, you have to be willing to build that foundation and that system that means for you to operate to where you can actually work smarter rather than harder. The key to working smarter is really being able to leverage something. It's the power of leverage. And typically, as entrepreneurs, we have to leverage a system. We have to leverage something that we've built a strong foundation on that we truly understand. And it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time, sweat, equity, and effort. Now, if we're putting these systems together, a lot of times, again, we're leveraging something. We're also going to have to build relationships. So with that, we have to understand when we're talking about the power of leverage and we're talking about business, we're talking about time and exchanging that for money. We're talking about owning a system and now having the system go to work. We're talking about having a team and now leveraging the fact that I have a team of 5 or 6 individuals that can duplicate some of the efforts that I've had and now monetizing that. So when I say all that, it brings me to the next question, which is my favorite word, actually. It's about intelligence. So if you're intelligent, that means you have the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skill. Now, if you can if all the knowledge and skill that you've acquired throughout your lifetime, if you can actually apply it yourself, drop a 100 in the chat. If all the knowledge and skill that you've acquired over your lifetime, you can apply it yourself, drop a 100 in the chat. So this is interesting. This is really interesting. Because this is going to tell us a lot about our mindset. A lot of people that dropped 100, I bet it's the same people that dropped the 10 and dropped the 1. And this is why. You are someone who almost refuses to delegate. And that's why you put in your head that, everything that I know, all that I've acquired, all the knowledge and skill that I've acquired, I can apply it myself. I had to get to the point, and it got to the point with me where my parents, they tell me all the time, hey, man, you know a lot about real estate. You should do real estate. You know a lot about banking. You should do banking. You know a lot about, you need to do government contracting. You know a lot about being a personal trainer. You could be a personal trainer. You should do that. So I get that all of you are saying that you can apply, but can you apply it all at once? Like, think about it. Like, so you know all these things, but can you really apply all of it and be effective in it right now? The only way you can actually do it, again, is the power of leverage. You actually can't do it all yourself. And that's where a lot of us, like, we wearing all those hats and you're like, man, yeah, I do it. I do it all. I cover all of it. And then you're wondering why your business kind of plateauing and it's stuck, and you'll go up, and then next thing you know, you hit another plateau, and then you're like, I can't go any further with this one. And then you adjust and you start doing something different, and you move the needle with that a little bit. So what you're doing is you're trying and attempting to multitask when really you need to learn to delegate. You need to, again, really embrace the power of leverage. You need to really embrace the fact that you need to seek out specialized knowledge and skill. You need to seek out strategic partnerships. You need to build your network because, yes, at that point, you can apply it, but you're applying it through another vehicle, and that vehicle could be a system that you've built. It could be an individual that you've employed as a W-2 employee or as an independent contractor, but you're not actually doing it all yourself. So I get some of you are probably thinking like, yeah, I can do this, but it's not something that you're actually doing on your own by yourself. And like I say, the sooner you embrace more of that wholeheartedly, the faster things will grow for you. And this is very important when we get in the government contracting discussion. The last and most important question, I think, which really prevents a lot of us from really tapping into that last part of our intelligence, really seeking out partnerships, and working with others, is understanding exactly what are profits. So if you agree, and I'm going to just say it. So revenue minus expenses equals profits. If your salary as the owner of your business is part of the expenses, drop an E in the chat, the letter E for expenses. If your salary as the owner of your business is part of the expenses, drop an E in the chat. So remember, revenue minus expenses equals profits. Excellent, excellent. A lot of times I hear people say, yeah, it should be. Because most of the time we operate as entrepreneurs, we do, hey, I made $10,000 in revenue. I got to pay these other people to help me out or, for the systems and stuff that I use. My cost was $8,000, so I made $2,000. That's not how that's supposed to work. And that's why you really can't scale and really grow a sufficient business living by that model. You can't live by that. Now, and the reason I say that as a individual, you can't. You can't live by that. Now, as a business, that model could potentially work, again, especially when you're saying, hey, my profit goes back into the business. It's not going into my pocket because, again, what goes in my pocket is part of my expenses. It's part of my expenses. Some of the most successful businesses there are nonprofits. So they have no profit left over at the end of the year, but in the expenses, that's how they take care of the salaries, right? They take care of salaries for the owners, the administrative team, the management, all those people. They're making their money through the expenses, and we got to make sure we're doing the same things. Now, when I say this, a lot of people are like, yeah, I get it, that makes sense. But if you had the opportunity to have a 5-year contract valued at $1 million per year with just 1% profit, would you take that? Drop a P in the chat if you're taking a 5-year contract, $1 million per year, just 1% profit. Drop a P in the chat if you're taking that contract. So again, this is really going to break down your mindset. This breaks down your mindset. And this is what everybody, I'm seeing the right answers, but it's like a lot of people get these opportunities. They're like, I can't do this for 1%. I can't do that for 1%. There's only going to be $10,000 left over at the end of each year. Like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. Why? Like the whole goal of us having these businesses, right? So one, make sure that we're getting paid, and then also to pay the team of people that we're, bringing on and hiring. We want to be able to pay for our expenses and also get paid. That's what you're doing. And there's actually, after all that is done, there's $10,000 left over at the end of that. This is what we really got to understand about business, period. Especially if you're, you're not publicly traded, you don't have all these other investors and stuff where you're trying to really hit this home run with your profits. Like, again, your goal initially is to make sure you get paid and whoever you're hiring, whatever expenses you got to pay gets paid. That's what you're able to do with this. And also, in the grand scheme of things, it's one contract. It's one opportunity. It's going to open up doors. You get, the qualification experience of working on a 5-year contract, $1 million in revenue you're generating per year. You're also doing something that very few small businesses can do. Let's just be real about it. You can offer stability to people that can work for you, right? You got 5 years of stability right there that you can build upon. And again, benefit you, but also benefit others. And that's one of the biggest things that a lot of small businesses lack, right? The ability to provide real stability for employees or even independent contractors. I know a lot of GCs are like, yeah, I can't keep, I don't have enough work for my different crews and the people that I sub to. I'm not keeping enough work for them. This is what happens in government contracting. So that was my last question. I hope you guys, again, get the mindset right to understand, yes, you have to be a hard worker. You got to figure out what does it look like for you to work smarter rather than harder. You have to understand the power of leverage and how intelligence is, again, the ability to acquire and apply the knowledge and skill. So yeah, if you say you got all the knowledge that you need, how do you apply all of it? Because again, you can't do every single task, every single little thing. You can't do it all. But then there's opportunities where you don't have the skill to do this, but you have the knowledge about it. And again, I'm about to drop into this with this government contract. And this is the key. Like, our very first government contract was a roofing contract. Our company was started by myself and my mother. In March of 2013, that's when we started. Less than 3 months later, we had our first government contract, and it was a roofing contract. And I'm not ashamed to say I don't know much, even to this day, still about roofing. Don't know very much about it. I know a lot about government contracting. I know a lot about networking. In my former job, I had tons of crews that I basically taught about government contracting. I was a QC inspector and vendor trainer. So I trained small businesses about how to deliver on these contracts, how to understand them, how to go above and beyond and get paid above and beyond. So I had a lot of contacts. I had roofing contractors in my my contact list. So I was able to leverage what I knew about government contracting and the skill of these people that knew about roofing, right? Now that's the key. Now, again, that last part, that profits part, you got to understand that. So what I did, I got information from them about, what is it going to take for you to do this job? And I understood, okay, how can I mark this up to where, it's a win for them, me, the agency, and my business, right? Because all those got to get taken care of. That's really what we really got to get down to the heart of in what government contracting really is. So what is it? Government contracting is simply local, state, and federal agencies buying various products and services. And again, we're talking about these. It could be as simple as buying some water, bottles of water, to buying military grade equipment. They're doing it. I had somebody say, hey, well, you make it sound so simple. What about turkey sandwiches? Yeah, I stopped the presentation, pulled up a $2.1 million contract for turkey sandwiches. It's real. These opportunities are out here. We just, again, have to understand a few things. I like to say the who, what, when, where, why, and how of government contracting, right? We got to be able to break those things down, because a lot of people will see different, you get that headline material, you get that eye-popping stuff, it's going to catch your attention. Oh, the government spent, $5 trillion. They spent, 600 something billion, they got all this set aside for small businesses, but you really don't understand, like, who specifically, like which local, state, or federal agency has this money? What percentage are they setting aside for small businesses? Out of that, that's getting set aside for small businesses, what percentage of that is actually going to businesses in my industry? You got to be able to do your due diligence and your homework, right? So if you're trying to find government contracts and trying to find out, where do I really fit in this, right? So you need to identify, again, what are the local, state, and federal agencies that actually buy your product and service? Those that buy your product and services, how much are they actually buying? Like, so that way you can identify potentially what is your market penetration going to look like? So if you find yourself, you're in an industry, like for instance, our primary NAICS code is 541611, which is Administrative and General Management Consulting Services. The government in a single fiscal year spent over $12 billion for those services. You got to see, are you in a space where they're spending like that? Does it make sense for me to go after these federal contracts and federal dollars based on what they're spending? And then you also have to identify, because a lot of people are in the trucking industry, right? And they say, hey, man, trucking industry is booming, it's big, a lot of money out there. And a lot of people went in there and just straight up failed, had no clue what they was really getting into, but also really didn't understand how to go and find these contracts, the money, follow the money. So if you look on the federal, into federal government contracting and general freight trucking, you'll see they only spend about 13 million in a single fiscal year. You're like, how is that? And this is so big. And it's because the way that they actually go about purchasing those services is through a different type of contract. So it's not going to be primarily under what's called general freight trucking. It may be a construction project where, again, someone's got to get on the truck. It may be to buy produce or something getting on the truck. There's a different way that they're actually getting those particular services, and it's not through that direct stream or direct method using that particular NAICS code. So you got to understand that. And NAICS code is simply, it's a 6-digit number that identifies a product or service, and you set that up with your SAM profile. You got to be able to do that. So when we're looking at all this and we're saying, okay, I need to identify, again, the who, what, when. And when is very important. And I've been trying to drop a lot of videos about this and really make people pay attention to this. The government does so much spending during their fourth quarter. Now, a lot of people don't know that the government's fiscal year ends in September. So their fourth quarter runs July, August, September. So we're in the middle of it right now. And a lot of people aren't paying attention to this federal contracting and what's going on. I did a video where nearly 60%, well, I'll say 40%. That's what I remember. About 40% of all of their spending that they do in the entire year with small businesses is done in the fourth quarter, about 40%. So in one single quarter. So you need to look at, when is this taking place? When is the bulk of the spending happening? But also you need to look at, when I say when, and this is very important because a lot of people don't understand the whole system of government contracting is really designed to weed people out. It's designed to weed businesses out. And it's for one reason, really. And it makes perfect sense when you think about it. If you got a $10 million contract out there, it's kind of like, the lottery. Everybody, if it's just, $2 or $1 for a ticket, a lot of people going to play. And that's the same thing with government contracting. You got a $10 million contract out there. There's tons of roofing companies, tons of painting companies, there's tons of people that do what just about everybody's doing. There's a lot of people out there doing the same thing, providing different products or services, tons of people doing it. You got to get some of these people weeded out because you don't want to go through 100,000 proposals, right? And have to look at 100,000 different price sheets, quotes. You don't want to do that. So you set up different ways and methods to weed people out. And that's what a lot of people aren't realizing about government contracting. They're like, well, man, it's too much. These are the top 5 excuses we always hear. It's too much red tape, too time consuming, too competitive. There's too many payment issues. And the last one, too much hard work for very little return on investment. That's what people like to say. Those are, and again, I'm telling you straight up, those are excuses that people make about government contracting. And it's because you're saying there's a lot of red tape. Red tape is simply paperwork. That's what people are referring to. There's a lot of paperwork in government contracting, but you haven't really went through that paperwork. You haven't looked at enough proposals to really understand a lot of what they put in there is what's called boilerplate material. It's in all the contracts. You need to start identifying, looking at what really makes sense for you. Where's the scope of work? Can I do this? When is this due? What are the evaluation procedures? Where are they evaluating me on? My qualifications, my experience, my pricing, how am I being rated on this? So again, we got to make sure that we're not basically, and a lot of businesses do this, you are disqualifying yourself. And again, you're allowing them to weed you out, which is, again, what they want you to do. And honestly, it benefits people like me. Our first 3 years, we didn't lose a single bid because most of them were the only company bidding to work. Like, we held tree trimming contracts and lawn service, code enforcement, you name it. And a lot of work we got, nobody else was bidding it. I could show you guys where there's multi-million-dollar contracts on the federal side, 2 companies bid the work. They're very effective at weeding businesses out. And again, a lot of us we're doing it to ourselves because we see a packet, 100 pages. I can't do this. We see something about bonding and insurance. Oh, yeah, I don't have it. I can't do that. Oh, it's going to cost too much. You already start. Oh, I'm already too busy. I got this and that going on already. I just don't have time. Only got 2 weeks to respond. You're going about it backwards, and you're really missing out on opportunities that are going to change the trajectory of not just your business, but potentially your life and people that you're working with, their life too. So when I say win, we have to understand our government does something called budgeting, right? We talk about it all the time. We had the big issue about the budget just this last year, right? So they let us know what's coming up, what they're forecasting, where they plan on spending this money, what they plan on spending the money on. Pay attention. Your city, your local city, I'm telling you, they've had a meeting. They've had meetings about bond programs, meetings about, spending for recreation, whatever. They have all these means to tell us what they're spending money on, when they're going to do it. We're just not paying attention and applying that knowledge that they're freely giving it to us. When you can go sit in a lot of public meetings, like the information is right there. You go to their website, they got it right there on the website, the forecast and budget for the next, usually it'll run for a whole fiscal year. You'll have all that information right there at your fingertips, right? Pay attention. That's what I'm trying to get. The point is, like, a lot of the information and stuff that we're seeking in government contracting is right there in front of us. But for many of us, it's being presented in a way that is either discouraging us from moving forward and really looking into it. It's overwhelming us. So again, that's where that time consuming comes in, because you're trying to learn on the fly, right? You're looking at something, you like, I really don't understand that terminology. It looks like a different language to me. I don't know what's going on. And again, I told you, when applying the knowledge and skill you have, it's going to come across something that you don't have the skill for. You got to seek out that specialized knowledge and skill to help you move past that and get it accomplished, because otherwise it's going to continue to be a barrier, or you're going to spend 3, 6, 9 months trying to figure it out, and you still got other stuff going on. The business still has to be run, right? Life is still going on, right? You got to get these things in order. So when we're talking about it, there's several things that pop up, several things that potentially pop up that are going to potentially create a barrier for a lot of people in government contracting. The first one, like I said, is that, timely bid notifications, access to working capital. And if I mention something that you want me to dive into, just type it in the chat. Do you want me to dive into, timely bid notifications, access to working capital, acquiring, bonding, and insurance, networking with prime contractors, marketing to the agencies. There's issues with knowing how to price your services, winning bids. That's a no-brainer, right? Winning bids, you want to be able to do that, but that's a barrier for a lot of people. They've probably been in or have heard about government contracting for a long time. I've heard people say, man, I've tried this for 10 years. I never won anything. And I don't laugh at them, but there's a reason, right? If you've been at something for 10 years and it hasn't worked for you, you really got to question, like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? And it's a simple answer to that. I'm going to provide you guys. But like I said, there's pricing your services, winning bids, writing technical proposals. That's another huge one. Actually getting certified. For a lot of people, that's a major problem, a major issue. Leveraging the certification, that ties right into it. But like I said, if there's anything specifically that you feel is a contracting barrier to your business specifically, drop it in the chat. And I'm going to try to just address some of those questions right now. So again, make sure you drop it in the chat, and I'm going to try to address some of those questions. Let me see here. Yeah, so contract writing, that's one of the first ones, right? It's huge, and it's really simple though. When you think about it, it's actually very simple. The reason it's hard for a lot of us is because how we've been taught in school how to write, right? We've been taught to write, 5 to 7 sentence paragraphs, these pros and cons statements, and we're writing a lot of times how we were taught in school or how we talk, and we're trying to explain to people in long paragraphs what we're doing in these technical proposals. So when they ask you for, your company overview, long written out thing, your qualification experience, your methodology and approach, your key personnel, everything is very long, written out paragraph style writing. You have to understand this is a marketing, it's a pitch. It's a sales pitch. You need graphics. You need a marketing team to help you market your services, because that's all it's a pitch. You're selling, and you need graphics. You need illustrations. You need something that's going to catch their eye, keep their attention, and really stands out and pops and looks professional at the same time. You got to have that, because again, a lot of people just write like they talk or how we were taught in school, and that's not going to cut it. And the reason it's not going to cut it is because you're not really going to be able to break it down to them and get them to see what you're wanting them to see. Because again, a lot of them are needing, everybody looks at stuff a little different, but having to read it all. Think about it now with people in their attention spans. They start reading this stuff, and again, they got 5 or 6 other proposals just like what you're talking about. Everything looking the same. Next thing you know, they're gonna just go to the qualifications and be like, we know this, we've seen this, and then the price. And again, a lot of government contracting is best price. Best value contracts, different thing. And you can leverage, having more qualification experience and actually, bid the price higher than the lowest bidder and still win. But you're gonna have to have a powerful marketing pitch, right? So a lot of people, when we talk about, hey, yeah, like, okay, that makes sense. I need a marketing company to help me put this pitch together. But man, some of these companies that help me put a RFP together, they charge me $2,500, $5,000, and I'm not willing to pay that. And they tell me if I don't win, they're not gonna refund me no money or nothing. Like, so I didn't pay for this and I don't win. I'm like, what you have to understand, if you're going after the bid, the government does not reimburse you for the cost to prepare the bid anyway. Like, it's any other work that you go after and you spend your time putting it together, you go after it, you're not going to get reimbursed for the time and effort, whatever you spent on it. But the value is in this. Once you get that, just like I told you, the government has their boilerplate material. Now you have yours, right? Now you have a template, a boilerplate of what this really should look like. And yeah, you may not win that bid, but you could potentially find out why you didn't win, and you could tweak your pitch. And that's what I was talking about before. Like, if somebody said they've been in government contracting 10 years, and I got to touch on this real quick, y'all, because it goes to, again, winning bids and this whole thing about, getting somebody to help you with contracts and all that. You really need to understand, if you lose a contract, you don't win the bid, you need to request a bid debriefing. Go ahead and write that down. Request a bid debriefing. If you've seen the movie War Dogs, it's a movie, Jonah Hill is in it. It's about some young kids that win a $300 million government contract. When they find out they won, they get basically a bid debriefing where they're told they won simply because, again, they were the lowest bidder, and they were the lowest bidder by $50 million. $50 million. Jonah Hill's character goes out in the hallway, he kicking himself, he hot. Like, wow, I left $50 million on the table. 50 million. So the loser in that situation, they find out they lost because the lowest bidder was $50 million cheaper than them. That's some great insight. One, me looking at that, I'm gonna say, okay, that was most likely an irresponsible bid. I'm not going that low to win this work, because again, I still remember the goal is to make sure that we making money and all of our expenses are covered. If you can't do that, you don't bid that low. If there's going to be, some profit in there, if it's just 1%, we'll consider that, but not to lose money. We don't bid work just to win work. And this is what a lot of people don't understand about government contracting. You bidding just to win. No, we in this to make money. Like, so yeah, that's why you got to have a system together so you can bid multiple projects, because you want to bid the ones where you're going to make money. Don't bid it just to, oh yeah, I got a contract, I won one. No, I made money. I made money. Like that's the point. That's why we're in business. I see a lot of people get some information and see something about, a bid tabulation, award. And you say, okay, well, they wanted at XYZ. So I'm going to bid it, just a little bit lower than that the next time it come up. And bad move. You haven't done your due diligence and saw what your costs really are going to be and how you really make money with it. Don't do stuff like that. So you really want to understand, the power of a bid debrief, help you address, why did I lose? And then you go back and make tweaks to your pitch, your technical proposal, because the marketing person really, all they're doing is taking your information and illustrating it in a way where it's more convincing, compelling, keeping people's attention. And again, it looks very professional. That's what you're going for with them, the right look of everything and making sure they're accentuating the right points. Now, if your points are just not very good, then you got to fix them. Your teammate, they tell you, hey, the team you got, your key personnel, that wasn't strong enough for us. You can address that. Now you keep the same template, you change, move a person out. Hey, they the weakest link. I got to move them out. I got to put somebody else on this proposal. You know what I'm saying? Nothing against you personally, but your qualification experience, as far as being a key personnel, it doesn't fit what the agencies are looking for. I got to find somebody else. Don't mean you can't work with me. It's just I can't list you as key personnel. You're not going to be in that role for us to get these type of contracts. And you got to understand that sometimes it may be you. You may be the one like, hey, I want to be listed. Nah, you're going to have to play the back seat. Just, manage some stuff from afar because you got a better team. And that's what a lot of people don't understand about government contracting is it's not about you. It's about your team. It is not about you. Oh, I don't have any experience doing roofing. Nobody cares. Does your team? Do you have people in place that can really do this and do it at a high level and get the job done? Because it's not about you. And I say that's what a lot of people really don't understand about this government contract, about business. It's not about you. You stay in your lane, do what you do and what you're great at. And that may be just finding the contracts. Going and networking with people. So when we talk about networking with prime contractors, that may be your role. I know my mother, she kills it. She kills it. People they love her. They love her. And I love her for it. I love her too. But people love her. You got to have somebody like that on your team. Not everybody love me. For me, like you, a lot of people be like, man, he's a little too nonchalant. He's a little too direct sometimes. He look like he really don't care about what nobody talking about. And I could be like that because sometimes I'm extremely focused when I go to network events because a lot of people just talk. Everybody has been to those events and people just talk. They really not going to do nothing. They really not about nothing. You seen the same crowds. I get rubbed the wrong way real quick with that. My mother, on the other hand, she can make small talk with everybody and builds great rapport, great relationships. For me, you're going to have to work to really build a really good relationship with me. I'm going to have to see that you're really about doing something because otherwise I'm not going to let you waste my time at all. So you got to do that. So somebody, let me see, access to working capital. Getting access to working capital is really about, honestly, because I know there's a lot of people telling people, hey, build business credit. You can get that set up easy, and with business credit, you don't have to use your personal credit and be a, personal guarantor. And it's very misleading when people talk about that. So yeah, there are companies you can go and establish business credit without it, one, requiring you to be a personal guarantor, or pulling your credit. So then that's the two separate things. So a lot of people tell you, yeah, you can get business credit without being a personal guarantor, but they still pull your credit. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. About 80% of the stuff that you can do with your business credit, it's going to still require them to do either a soft inquiry or a hard inquiry on your personal credit. Quill, Uline, Granger, they don't do anything like that. And watch, when you set that up, Quill, Uline, and Granger, when you initially set those accounts up, you're going to probably get a max $500 credit limit, max, because they're not looking at any credit thing to determine what your credit limit should be. They don't know you. So they're not supposed to give you a whole lot of money, right? Like let's just use common sense. It's not going to work that way. Establish excellent personal credit. That's the first thing you want to do if you really want to get access to working capital for your business. Establish excellent personal credit, because again, they're going to still do a soft checking for a lot of them. It will not directly report to your personal credit, but you still will have to be a personal guarantor, which means it doesn't report to your credit, but if you default, they could potentially look at coming after you. And again, it's not in every case, but they are going to require some type of check into your credit. So it needs to be right, especially if you don't have any business credit, right? And even when you build up business credit, they still want to check your personal credit. You have to hit certain thresholds. So most traditional lenders, banks, you have to do over $10 million in revenue for like 3 consecutive years to be able to go and apply for things with your business credit only. So basically they're looking just at your financials. You don't have to, provide and be a personal guarantor, but you got to do that much money. Some vendors, you got to do over $5 million to get into that threshold where, hey, yeah, we'll just look at your business stuff. If you're not there, expect them to look at your personal credit, and have it ready. But yeah, you can definitely build business credit. It's good to do, but understand there's levels to all of this. There's levels to all of it. But yeah, getting access to working capital really starts with addressing your personal credit and getting, when I say excellent, I mean above 720, multiple, personal trade lines, at least 5, age to your credit, all that good stuff. You want to have that. The key with certifications is one, you need to identify every certification that you're eligible for. So every socioeconomic certification on the local, state, federal side, identify all the certifications that you're eligible for and start the process of gaining all of those certifications. Then you identify all the ones that you're not eligible for, and identify a strategic partner for all of those certifications. And then you figure out, okay, so based on what all I have set up, who's looking for what? Who really holds, the DBE certification highly, which agency? Because again, you got to identify which agencies actually, utilize these different types of certifications and where best to use them. Again, you're trying to leverage them. You got to see what the landscape is like for those. And again, you basically want to build a business development strategy around the different types of certifications you have. So if you identify an agency like, man, they love DBE. All right, so this is what do we have, a product or service that we can offer them, because this is what they're looking for. Because a lot of people assume like, well, yeah, I want to do work with XYZ agency, but they don't even buy your service. And then I got my my hub certification. They don't use hub certification. They look at DBE. Oh, I don't have so you got to put it all together. Okay. Put it all together when it comes to those certifications. So with who completes the 1099 form? So you actually complete the 1099 form you submitted to your independent contractor or vendor. Reliable subcontracting, it's a relationship, honestly. So one, you can look for companies that possibly have done work with other companies before. It's a vetting process though, because just like you, right? You're wanting somebody to give you an opportunity. You never worked on a government contract possibly before, this type of work before. It's a vetting process. So finding reliable contractors really is about how you go about vetting them. Just like if you were interviewing somebody, you want to, they need to check their references, check how they handle certain things, and definitely understand if you are subcontracting work to someone, you're basically putting all the financial strain and stress on them. Like being real, like you really are, because they're going to be the last ones to get paid, right? You're going to get paid before they do if they subcontracting under you, and they got to try to make things work, waiting to get paid, and they putting in some work. Can they handle that? And so that's what you got to understand. When people are looking at you as a potential subcontractor, they looking at, can you really handle waiting 45 days to get paid? You got to do X, Y, Z. Can you handle that? Can you handle it? And that's why, again, working capital is critical in this game of government contracting. But with reliable subcontractors, you need to, always say, I recommend, get 3 quotes, hire one, keep the other one on standby, one of the other 2 on standby, just in case you need to let them go. And government contracting, if it's an issue, don't second guess letting somebody go in and getting them off that contract if it's going to cost you some money. Are there factoring companies? Yes, definitely factoring companies. But a lot of banks, traditional banks, actually can give you 80 to 100% of a contract value if it's a federal contract. I dropped this one to you guys. Live Oak Bank. Live Oak Bank is one of the banks. But again, with Live Oak Bank, they want you to, have a multi-million-dollar contract. They won't mess with you unless it's got to be at least $1.5 million contract. But they're definitely factoring companies, and those are very useful in government contracting. The fees are really low. You just need to get all those things set up prior to establishing that contract, so that way all the money flows like it needs to flow. Felonies, that's an interesting one, and it's because so you could actually own a company as a felon and do government contracting. The thing is, like, you will not be able to, in certain cases, like, so say, depending on what your felony was, you may not be able to attend certain meetings or go to certain sites because they do not allow certain things based on your background to do. So we do a lot of contracts with school districts. They don't allow too much with different types of, felony convictions on campuses and such. So you got to look into that. Oh, okay. Somebody want me to drop the names in the chat for the companies you can go through to get a business credit without any personal guarantee. Quill, Uline, Granger, That's for everybody to check out. And like I say, they're not going to give you a lot. So, and that's why, like I say, when people say they, business credit, you can get all this money, just using your business credit alone. Think about it. If you only had some secured credit cards, $500 limit each, you got 3 of them, they can be on your credit for 20 years. Ain't nobody supposed to give you you're not going to get any real money with that. So you got to think about, so I'm going to give y'all another gem, and pay attention because, and again, we got to get out of that short-term thinking. We really got to think bigger. A lot of businesses really think way too small. So if you're really trying to get money for your business, remember, a lot of people have a DUNS number, right? DUNS number is a free number. You used to have to get it to get your sound profile, right? It's a free number. And that's how you monitor your credit. You get a paydex score. A lot of people don't know that. They have the free number, don't know Dun & Bradstreet, has a monitor the credit. You get a credit score with them called a paydex score. 80 or higher is considered excellent. So if you were running around saying, yeah, I got business credit, I didn't set this up, set that up. If you don't have a payday score, you don't. You don't have that business credit like you think you do. So verify that you have a payday score. Now, what's going to happen is this. A lot of y'all probably, if you've set up with Dun & Bradstreet, especially like 3-4 years ago, like they would blow your phone up. Like somebody to know, say I'm lying, like, because when you first set that thing up, they will blow your phone up and you're like, what's going on here? They're trying to sell you something, right? They're trying to sell you this, hey, well, we offer this thing for you to add 12, trade references to your credit profile and this, that, and the other. And a lot of people don't know. They were like, what is this about? What's going on? So just like, Quill, Uline, and Granger, those are companies that automatically report to Dun & Bradstreet. So I'm going to tell you this story real quick. So one of my clients was like, hey, we need to get this set up. So I call Dun & Bradstreet. I say, hey, they're trying to get their file set up. And they're like, yeah, their file's not complete. We noticed that, they don't do business with enough companies that automatically report to our, to business credit. I said, okay, cool, perfect, great. I said, so do you guys actually have a list that you can provide me of companies that automatically report? She's like, no, there's not a list. I'm like, so how can you verify that they're not doing business with enough companies that don't automatically report? There has to be a list that you cross-referencing this to. Like, I'm not no dummy, so I'm asking because I want to see what their list is. I already have a list. So I'm like, cool, though. I know what I need to address with my clients, get them set up. So again, the Quill, Uline, Granger thing can help you get that file set up. But this is what the lady told me. She said, well, I could expedite getting their file established. She's like, there's a lot of companies that have been with us and they don't have a complete file. The file is not complete. And the file isn't complete because, again, not enough companies are automatically reporting, and Dun & Bradstreet really holds those keys. I was like, okay, so what does that look like? She's like, it's $1,500. And we basically complete their file and allow them to start adding up to 12 trade references, for their credit. So a trade reference is simply a company that you do business with and you provide them, they give you net payment terms. So just like Quill, Uline, and Granger give you net 30 payment terms. So say I'm doing business with XYZ Trucking and they send me an invoice for $60,000. I'm doing business with ABC Roofing. They send me an invoice for $250,000. They give me 30 days to pay. I pay both of them promptly and on time. I want to add those to my credit report, right, with Dun & Bradstreet. You think that's going to do me more benefit than the $50 at Quill, Uline, and Granger? Drop a $sign in the chat if you think that's going to help me out a lot more than the $500 from Quill, Uline, and Granger, right? It's going to help me out a lot more. Way more. And this is what people don't understand. Like, you're doing this, you're spending money with companies all the time anyway, and just don't realize I need to be able to report them directly. And again, it costs $1,500. And a lot of people, oh man, I'm telling you, a lot of people got mad at Dun & Bradstreet for trying to offer this to them, not realizing this is the key to getting the real money that you're saying you need if you're doing business like that. And we do. If you're doing government contract, you're gonna do business like that. It's gonna happen. You're gonna have to pay somebody some real money, net 30 payment terms, especially you subcontracting work. It's perfect for you, right? This is the catch. There's one catch. They also got to have a completed file. Like they number and stuff got to pop up. So the program is perfect though. You able to type in the company's name. If it pops up, they good to go. And you can, all they're going to ask you for is a little information about, your credit limits and stuff with them. When was the last time you used them? They send them an email, they verify, boom, you set up. So I hope you guys was paying attention, because that was the only time I'm gonna say it. But that's a major key right there with building business credit and working capital. So what I'm gonna do next Because a lot of people saying, I want the blueprint. I want the blueprint. Do I walk y'all through this? So this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. I got 10 minutes left for the night's presentation. So this is what I'm going to do. So the keys to getting started in government contracting, it's really simple. You want to discover a need first. You want to meet the need. You want to then filter your opportunities. You want to submit a response, submit basically your bid. And you want to win and request that bid debriefing. You want to win and request that bid debriefing. I don't know why they can't give you a list, but again, it's easy to find. So this is what you want to do. This is what you want to do. Discovering a need, very simple. You go to sam.gov, the contracts are there. Meet the need. For a lot of people, that's where you're going to struggle, right? Try. And again, only address what they're asking for. A lot of times when people see these government contracts, you reading too much in between the lines. Address exactly what they're asking for. And be very intentional. If they say, hey, on this section, we want your qualification and experience. You put that on your response, qualification and experience. That's your section. And then you address that. They got a section for key personnel. You address that. Follow their format. They give you all the tools and things you need. They give you the blueprint. You just got to follow it. Follow what they're telling you to do and keep it very simple. They give you the experience, qualification, experience needs, all that. Boom, you put that in there. All you have to do a lot of times, if you're like, man, I don't have that qualification experience, go and find a company that does. All you do, take their scope of work, qualification, experience, you send that out to 3 companies, say, hey, do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? Can you do this? What are you going to do it for? If they don't meet the criteria, send it to somebody else. But this is how you save your time. You let somebody else that really does the work. If it's something you don't do, let somebody else do that. If they provide you the information, boom, you respond. If it's something you do in-house, it's simple then, right? Because you should know. You know what you're like. And the thing is, you keep it. A lot of people go, they'll get a bid, they'll do it. Another bid comes, they redo it. No, you have all the boilerplate material. And that's why I say, pay somebody to set up and do your technical proposal for you. So you have it all in a nice, neat format. And you store it. You store your boilerplate material. But put it together, submit the bid. Request the bid debriefing. The bid debriefing is going to tell you how to meet the need. Discovering the need is easy because they put all the stuff out there. They do the forecasting, right? They have the city hall meetings, the city council meetings. They have all the forecasting and budget reports. It's not hard to discover the need, folks. Sometimes the hard part is, again, just making sure that you're meeting the need properly. So you have to bid. And again, so if you're concerned with, I don't know if I'm saying this right or saying that right. Honestly, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter when you're trying to figure out how to do it right. So you may make a mistake. Just make sure you don't make a mistake on your pricing. That's the most important part. So if you're not sure how to price your services, again, shop the competition. That's one way to do it. Get the bid tabulations. That's no way to give you a ballpark. Bid tabulations are simply meant to give you kind of like, with Amazon, people talk about, you got an Amazon store, you get box pricing where you like, hey, you stay between $50 and $75 on this item. That's going to be good. That's what you use the bid tabulation and bid history for, and award notices. You find all that stuff. And again, the way you do that is you go to the sites and you filter your searches based on what you're looking for. I want to find award notifications. I want to find contracts that are coming out, 6 months from now. I want to find pre-solicitations. I want to find the sources sought. Pre-solicitation simply means, they haven't put out the actual solicitation yet, or job posting. They haven't put the bid opportunity out there yet, but they plan on doing it potentially 3-6 months down the road. Again, same thing with the forecast. Sources sought. They're saying, hey, we're trying to find, who's able to provide these services, and then based on the response they get. So say during the sources sought, and this is on the federal side, and this is another huge way to weed out competition. They say we need painters on this sources sought. You respond, and they're going to get like 20 responses back. 15 of those responses are from women-owned businesses. They're going to set their contract aside for women-owned businesses. They basically take how they get the responses, and they say, okay, based on these responses, it makes sense for us to set this contract aside for small businesses, for service disabled vets, so on and so forth. So me, being smart, if I see a source of salt and I'm like, hey, we have a small business. We also have a woman-owned business and a minority-owned business. What I look for is what is the category where I'm going to have the least competition. So sometimes based on the contract type, it's minority-owned businesses. Sometimes based on the contract type, it's woman-owned businesses. I'm going to have the least amount of competition. So I want the contract set aside for woman-owned businesses, say in this instance, I'm going to let other woman-owned businesses know about this source of salt so they can reply to it. So that way it can get potentially set aside for what? Woman-owned businesses. Because again, I don't want to compete in the small business pool, the minority-owned business pool, or the service-disabled vet pool. I want to compete in this pool, right? Just simple things like that. Simple things like that. But again, the key is you have to discover and be able to meet the need. And then again, if you've been doing this for any amount of time, there's tons of opportunities. You got to develop a go, no go process. You got to be able to filter those opportunities. You got to be able to look at something and say, I really don't have time to do this. If you're looking at it and you find that you got 2 weeks to go and it's $1 million bid and you're looking at it like, again, look at the sources, look at the scope of work. Look at, the qualification experience that they're requiring. Like, what can you do as far as subcontracting? You find those little bits and pieces of information, and that's going to tell you, like, do I really have time to do this? Does this really make sense? But you got to develop what that looks like for you and your organization. Because again, you could want me to tell you, but I can't, because I'm going to tell you something. And again, that's what works for me. It may not work for you to try to do it that way. So I look at stuff. I'm like, man, I don't want to do anything if I got less than 2 weeks to respond. But I know there's certain contracts I can respond to that thing in 2 days because I've had to do it before. And it's going to happen. But again, I know what to look for. I know in the sources, in the scope of work, or I know based on, what they're looking for as far as subcontracting, I can get that done. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger and, pull the all-nighter or whatever. And me and the team, we're going to get it knocked out. It's that simple, but you got to develop what that looks like for you. You got to develop that. And again, if you're struggling to find contracting opportunities at the local and state level, very simply, all you do, type in the name of your city and procurement, the name of your city, bid opportunities. And you can do this with anything. If you looking for work with McDonald's, type in McDonald's procurement, McDonald's bid opportunities, doing business with McDonald's, becoming a McDonald's vendor. Like, you can do this with anything. Type in your school district, procurement, bid opportunities. You'll start finding the stuff. Really simple. Nah, it's not too late since September is almost here. No, because they're going to start pushing a lot of contracts. So again, if y'all go to sam.gov, check. There's about to be a lot of contracts hitting the street, but also they're going to be turning them around and awarding these contracts. And honestly, for a lot of these contracts, I'm not going to say they're going to overpay because they're trying to get the money out because they're trying to keep their budgets where they're at. If they understand, somebody may get a bonus, but they lose some of that spending power. Right. So, and a lot of them want to keep their same spending power because there may be things that they already, somebody has an initiative or a goal. That's why I say the who, what, when, where, why. Like, why are they spending like this? You got to understand that. Why are they doing it? And somebody may want to keep their budget because they got a big initiative that they're trying to, they didn't promise somebody X, Y, Z, their constituent. Like, so certain stuff got to move. Right. So pay attention to what's going on because it's about to happen. It's about to happen. This is on all of it. So somebody says this on city, local government, or sam.gov. So you can go to sam.gov. That's for the federal contracts. For your local and city stuff, again, their fiscal years may end at different times. You got to, and again, understand that. Understand that, again, you got to do your research of, okay, when is their fiscal year end? How do they set up their budget? But the federal government's fiscal year ends, September. Also understand what's called their requisition process. So how do they go about actually setting up, putting out the information for these contracts? And requisition process is based on dollar value. So if it's a $25,000 or less contract, they don't have to put it on the street. They can basically call up 3 companies and say, hey, can I get a bid for this? On the federal side, they call it, simplified acquisitions. They can do the same thing. Sometimes they can do it on up to $1 million on certain types of contracts. They ain't got to put it on the street. They can just reach out to a couple of businesses. They have what's called a rule of 2. So you, again, do your homework, look into this stuff and figure out, again, if their goal is to weed out competition, let them work for you, let them help you. And you just don't get weeded out, right? That's the name of the game. You don't get weeded out. You don't let the stuff discourage you or push you away from it when this is really going to get you, the information and insight that you need. Let me see here. So if you're talking about bonding for your business, so acquiring bonds, this is really simple. And again, I'm right at about my time, so I'm gonna ask 2 more questions, and then I'm gonna wrap this up. So with acquiring bonds, the thing is this: if you complete a $100,000 job, you're eligible. Your bonding capacity is going to start at 10 times that. So it starts at $1 million. What walks it down is your financials and your personal credit and stuff about your business. That could walk it down from $1 million. But your bonding capacity does not mean that you have to pay for the bond yet. You just establish a capacity. So you have a $1 million bonding capacity, and they're saying, hey, it's going to be 5% for you to get this bond. You don't have to come up with that $50,000 right then. What happens is you have to actually be able to execute that bond with a payment bond or a performance bond, which means you have to have a $1 million contract. Once you get that contract, then you go and the contract actually pays the cost for your bond. So you add that $50,000 into the cost for you provide the service for this, contract, because again, they're requiring you to have it. They're going to pay you for it. You tell the bonding company, hey, I need 45 days to pay because I'm going to invoice here. Boom, I get paid here. And you put in your first invoice. Boom, you pay for your the $50,000 for your $1 million bond. Hopefully they answer your question. But again, the SBA has a program for it. Go to SBA.gov, look up, type in bond, and they got a program to help you get bond guarantees, and then just start asking the questions about it, because a lot of people just haven't asked the questions because they're scared about getting rejected. Have you found that you need to have experience city and state level contracts before you compete for federal contracts? Nah, it does not matter at all. So again, with our company contract we got, didn't have any experience doing roofing. We had a company that we worked with that did, but it wouldn't even matter with that particular type of contract because again, the requisition process. Typically contracts $50,000 or less, they're not really looking at your qualification or experience whatsoever. They're looking at lowest bidder. So again, it's all going to be dictated by what is the evaluation process or the requisition process. And again, if they're asking you for experience, just build a team that has experience that you don't have, because it's not about you as a company. We got to understand this. Big companies are getting $100 million contracts, and it's not based on them. It's based on the pool and team of subcontractors that they're bringing to the table. You see, they may have some of the capacity as far as financial. Again, that's talking about bonding capacity. And again, small businesses, we need to understand we can pull our bonding capacity together. If you got a $5 million bonding capacity, I got 10 million, somebody's got 5, we can pull all that together. Pull it all together, we got $20 million bonding capacity. So just got to understand again, the power of leverage, intelligence, the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skill, which means we really need to build stronger strategic partnerships. With that said, again, the key to government contracting, follow the blueprint, which means you have to build and set up a business development strategy to go into this marketplace. And that's going to be based on the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Complete a market analysis. You need to understand who's spending where and what they're spending on and how to leverage your state, local, and federal socioeconomic certifications, even the ones you don't have. So that's strategic partnerships. You need to know how to price your services, shop competition, bid tabulations, whatever you got to do. Start putting in a spreadsheet, figure out what really makes sense for your business. Know how to write the proposals. Get help. Get a marketing company, put something together for you, get your boilerplate material, get your pitch deck set up right, and then just tweak things as you need to. That's my recommendation. Access working capital. Access working capital, which means getting your personal credit right, because that's really where it starts. Get that personal credit right. Execute your plan. To execute a plan, first you got to have a plan. And another thing is, again, when you're executing a plan, understand you can't do it all by yourself. You're going to get so far into that plan, and then you're going to hit that roadblock. And you don't want to hit it with government contracting, because this is the thing. Government contracting forces you to really increase profits, because they're going to force you to build capacity and improve your productivity. The more capacity you have, the more work you can do, the more revenue you can generate. When you improve productivity, that basically means that you establish a system and you establish a way to stabilize your costs. So again, revenue is going up, cost is stabilizing, profits will increase. Government contracting forces you to do this. You're going to have a team. Got to have some working capital to execute your plan, though. That's why I put that first. I hope you all got something from this evening. I know we sped through a lot, but again, I try to keep this at an hour. Stay tuned, because I think this is something in a format that I may come back to and do again. I hope, again, everybody got something from this this evening. Check back with us. Y'all have a great evening.